chillin', serial killing, pre-cold villains on the mic, got you reeling. 5-star rated from the floor to the ceiling. If you catch a 1-star, no time for feelings. Got a demon DJ on the ones and twos, by the name Beelzebub, so don't get confused. So grab a seat by the fire, roast them all over two, and prepare to hear the legend of the Straight Chillin' Crew.
What up, nerds, and welcome to another steamed punk episode of Straight Chilling, the weekly horror movie review show where you chill and we kill, slice, dice, and chop up yet another horror movie. My name is Bob. I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode 518, recorded Sunday, March 2nd, 2025. Tonight, we are talking about another You Pick the Flick. The movie was chosen by your boy Robert, and it is Frankenstein's Army from 2013. Before we get into it, let me introduce everyone else on the show tonight. First up, calling in from Washington, D.C., we got your boy Rand Diesel. What's up, dog?
You want to kill a Nazi?
What's going on, buddy? You ready to talk about killing Nazis?
That's what that said? Okay. I was like, I don't know what the fuck that just said. But yes, always am down to kill some Nazis.
That is something this podcast endorses.
I want my scalp.
At the risk of being controversial.
Yeah. Shockingly controversial. Next up, calling in from Seoul, South Korea, we got your boy Soju. What's up, man?
Oh, what up? It's your boy Frankensteins. What up, comrades? Y'all enjoying some delicious borscht this evening?
Thinking hearty.
My boy Borscht Bob. That's what we used to call him.
Borscht Bob.
Bit of a borscht nut.
I can't get enough.
Borscht head.
Real borscht-fed boy. That's what Mama always said.
Bobby Borscht.
Bobby Borscht.
My boy Bobby Borscht.
The Russian version of me out there somewhere with glasses on a fucking podcast, just running his mouth.
Glasses and a podcast? Where are you going to find a guy like that?
I know, right? What a crazy concept.
It's about a bunch of nerds who never had a girlfriend in their lives.
Take that,
Sounds
Bobby!
about right.
Fuck you! Sounds about right. Hey, speaking of Bobs, I wanted to give a quick shout out and say happy birthday to Robert. The fellow that picked this movie tonight said this just happens to be coming out the week of his birthday, so happy birthday, brother.
Well, happy birthday, Bobby.
Congrats.
Bobby Borscht. It's his birthday. Sorry if we're talking about you. Before we get into the movie, let's tackle a little bit of housekeeping real quick here. So we are in a new month, which means our March poll officially has closed. Juice, this was your takeover, the dark Disney theme.
I know.
Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl, officially won.
That's the one I wanted. That's why I made the whole poll. I had to find other movies to fit that theme.
You chose two other really dog shit movies and then just put pirates.
No, there you go.
Democracy manifest.
But no, I'm excited for that. It's something I actually wanted to cover last year under Creature Comforts, but I got too busy, so I said, hey, you know what? Let's do it this year, maybe. And it won the poll.
It did. I'm excited to rewatch that. I haven't seen it in years, but I remember
been a while.
liking it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think I must have seen that movie like 8 times. I think even if I haven't seen it in like 10 years, I think I know every beat of it.
Yeah. Should be fun.
One of those.
But that does mean we have a brand new poll currently posted over on our Patreon website. If you guys support us at the $5 level or above, you get the chance to vote on a movie we're talking about this April. The theme for April is Part Deuce. And we got 3 slasher sequels up there for you to vote on. Child's Play Deuce, Friday the 13th Part Deuce, and Nightmare on Elm Street Part Deuce.
Whoa, Bob. Heading into spring season. Here we go, boys.
Yeah.
How are those numbers looking?
You know, I'm a little surprised by the numbers here.
Are you? I feel like you're a bad judge.
I think I am every month a terrible judge.
Well, if you think you are, then you're probably a great judge. Because you're a terrible judge.
What the fuck am I? Child's Play 2 is in last place with 10% of the vote. Friday the 13th Part 2 with second place, 35% of the vote. First place, Nightmare on Elm Street 2 with 55% of the vote.
Okay.
Damn, that's competitive.
Yeah, and I had thought I was like under the impression we had covered Nightmare to Deuce. I'm sorry, I apologize. But no, I was wrong. I think we just went to a special event at one point where it was shown. But yeah, and Friday the 13th Deuce has lost a couple polls before too. So
It has, yeah. I've been trying to talk about Friday the 13th Part 2, like at least 2 or 3 other polls, and it's just not working out.
So if you want to break Rob's heart one more time, you know what to do.
And you know you do.
They're all winners, but I do, in my mind anyway, I feel like Child's Play 2 and Friday the 13th Part 2 are generally pretty well respected, whereas Nightmare is a step down. But I know Nightmare's also been sort of reevaluated through like a queer lens, and I know it's got some steam from that. But I don't know.
Got some steam.
Some steam.
Oh, it's steamy, baby.
It is. That shower scene? Are you kidding me?
Whoa.
That dancing scene, baby. Come on now.
Closing drawers while
Guy.
dancing around in your drawers. And
I've actually never seen Child's Play Deuce.
No
but
shit.
when we covered Child's Play, I think that was the first time I had seen Child's Play.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
I
didn't remember
so.
that.
I think
Child's
so.
Play 2 and Child's Play 1, I really think that it really depends on who you ask, but like it's a very competitive race for fan favorite, if I had to guess between those two.
And I guess that is kind of the same with Friday the 13th, too, huh?
Yeah, actually, they also have Part 6, which is my personal favorite, and 4,
and 10.
But Child's Play franchise as a whole has got like a few dissenters who exist in the Seed of Chucky era, but for the most part, I feel like they're in the Child's Play 1 and 2.
There's dozens of us.
Practically dozens. Get your votes in before the end of March, and we'll see what we're talking about.
Dozens.
Practically. See what we're talking about in April. In other Patreon news, we're reopening the You Pick the Flick tier for the second
What is
quarter.
that, Bob?
Well, let me tell you all about it. Okay. So if
Please
you are
do.
listening to the show and you want to pick a movie outright for us to review, this is the only way to do it. We open the You Pick the Flick tier once a quarter. There's 5 spots per quarter. So this is going to be for the second quarter of 2025. We're reopening that tier on Sunday, March 16th at an undisclosed time of day.
Ooh, that sounds exciting, but expensive. Is that right, Bob?
You know,
anything that cool has to cost at least $50.
Shockingly,
I would guess 100.
Shockingly enough, it's only $25 to pick a flick.
Whoa.
I know.
We're cheap sluts, aren't we?
We are. Just throw
Are
us
the
around.
cheapest sluts.
All of us. We love it. Yeah. whatever movie you want, as long as we can all watch it, we'll talk about it. You also you get to vote in the poll of the month. You get all of the bonus content that we have posted over on Patreon, like all the mini casts, which we're over 150 right now. You also get an enamel pin with a VHS logo that Randy designed. You get a custom VHS sticker with the name of the movie you chose on it and the rating and the date we reviewed it and all that good stuff. Straight chilling sticker, shout out on the show. You also get to send in an email or a voicemail with your own thoughts on the movie that you chose. We include that in the episode. You get a lot. We try to make it worth every penny, and hopefully we are succeeding.
Can I have it, Daddy?
Your voice can stay on Straight Chillin' Podcast forever.
And you might not want that. Actually.
That might be the part we want that we don't want to publicize.
They had me up until then.
Your soul is attached to ours from that point forward.
We're heading into our 11th year, and there's no signs of stopping. We'll be around 20, 30 years talking about horror movies, so you could be a part of that.
Forever.
We're going to be doing this from beyond the grave.
So mark your calendars for Sunday, March 16th. You Pick the Flick, coming back at you. Speaking of minicasts, we're still dropping minicasts every other Friday. Next up, we're going to be dropping an episode on March 14th. Juice, you're talking about that new Valentine's Day slasher movie, Heart Eyes.
Oh, yeah. And actually, even though that was a month ago for Valentine's Day, here in South Korea, we have a little day called White Day, which is pretty much Valentine's Day, but with a
that's
gender
every day in
reversal.
America.
So
Damn.
so it's still relevant if you're visiting Korea at that time. So just plan on that,
And you probably
it'll
are.
all match up thematic wise.
Cool.
But yeah,
Right.
no, that was it's a rom-com slasher mashup that was specifically designed for Valentine's Day as the holiday themed horror film. But yeah, I'll be talking about that one.
Yeah, check it out. Dropping on Patreon. That's all we got going on for Patreon. Do you guys have anything else you want to plug?
I got nothing for you, buddy.
Ooh.
My house
Juice.
is clean this week, I believe.
I got
All right,
one
Bob.
more thing real quick. Joe Bob is back in town.
What?
I
That old
know.
crusty bish?
That old crusty bish is back with
This is the lastest drive-in of all.
season
I'm
7
sure.
of The Last Drive-In is coming at you. This,
Never see it again.
Following that Final Fantasy naming
know.
convention.
I know. This Friday, March 7th, he's coming back. They're changing the format once again. So this year they're doing a double feature the first Friday of every month from now until the end of the year. So first one is, like I said, this Friday, March 7th, double feature. We're going to be doing a watch party at 9 Eastern. So if you guys want to join in on the fun, we'll post a link to join the Zoom watch party just before showtime on all of our social media outlets. So follow and click that link and hang out with us.
Straight chillin' will never die.
You will
Yes.
never
Straight
die,
Joe.
apparently.
Yes. Thank you, Mr.
Joe
Bob.
called it years ago, and he was right.
Joe Borscht Briggs. You heard it here.
There's just
It
a
was
Russian
crazy.
version of all of us.
with Borscht in the name.
I'm just vodka over there.
My boy Vodka coming out. Vodka. I love it. That's officially all I got. I think our house is clean.
This house is clean.
All right, let's get into the main event. We're talking about Frankenstein's army, and we're kicking it off with the back of the box.
What's on the back of the box?
Rob, I saw you had this box. Did you purchase it for this watch, or did you have it before?
I got it for this episode. I did not have it before. Never seen it
Bob's
before.
dedicated.
I am dedicated.
Really had to twist his arm, you know?
Yeah, man.
I guess
he
I'll
really
buy
bent
a
over
blue
backwards
for this
on this one.
episode.
I blame Bobby Borscht for this one.
Oh,
Bobble.
Yeah, I picked this one up. It's really easy to find. This is put out by Dark Sky Films. It's on Blu-ray. You can also rent it, or you can stream it on, I believe, Tubi for free and Freevee, and I want to say it's on a couple other streaming platforms. So it's really easy to find if you do want to check it out. And I saw recently Bloody Disgusting posted an article on this movie. I want to say 2 or 3
Really?
weeks ago, just saying that it's
Wow.
worth a revisit. And here we are revisiting it. So what are the chances? People are talking about it.
Bobby put us on the vanguard of this movie's resurgence, I guess.
Apparently. But this is a movie from 2013, rated R with a runtime of an hour and 24 minutes. This was written and directed by Richard Rapphorst, stars Robert Gwillem, Han Ping Tang, Alexander Terentiev, some other lovely folks. Plot synopsis brought to you by IMDb is as follows. In the dying days of World War II, a battalion of Russian soldiers is lured into the secret lab of a deranged scientist and forced to face off against an army of horrific flesh and metal war machines. Gentlemen, have you seen Frankenstein's Army before? And would you recommend folks check it out? Randeezy, kick us off.
No, I had never heard of this film before our buddy Bobby pointed it out to us, and I would not recommend it.
Wow, I'm a little surprised. Juice, what about you?
Yeah, I had seen this before, and actually I have a very kind of distinct memory about watching this for the first time, because I believe I watched this for the first time the first year, like right when we kind of started the podcast and had decided to like keep going like the first days, like the early days, because I was looking for more like, you know, I was trying to like dive deep into the horror realm and just watch a lot of movies and stuff. It came out 2013. So, yeah, I had seen it before back in the day. It's probably been like 10 years since I watched it, which is crazy to think about. But so I was just a young lad back then. But I watched it.
But a fetus.
But going in, I couldn't really remember much about it, to be honest with you. I mean, the general premise, but nothing distinct. And yeah, I wouldn't particularly recommend this one. It's interesting that you said that maybe it's kind of getting some kind of revival, or people are seeking it out. It's funny to look back now that we're 10 years removed. It feels very 2013. It feels like such a 2013 movie.
It might feel a little bit earlier than that to me.
It's honestly, you know, one thing that was linking in my mind, I was like, I bet this came around the same time as Human Centipede. Like, it really just kind of matched that, which
it feels like it follows like the Saw trajectory to me.
Yeah. So Human Centipede was 2009, so I just looked that up because I had that distinct thought of like, yeah, it feels around that realm. So, but no, not particularly. I mean, it is found footage, and if you're a found footage lover, then, you know, maybe, but no, there's nothing too special about this movie that I feel like people need to check out. Bob, how about you? Would you recommend people check this out?
We're going to be the exact opposite of what happened last week. Where I'm the only one to recommend it instead of not recommending.
All right.
Yeah.
Wow, this is quite surprising because me and Randy are the found footage people.
Yeah.
You hate it. What is happening?
I don't hate
Hold
found
on.
footage.
We're gonna have to get into that.
Yeah, Bob.
It's not like a huge recommend. I had a decent time watching it. You know, it's a little thin, but I thought it was all right. Like, you know, I had a decent enough time watching it. So yeah, I'd say recommend.
It's malnourished.
It's a little too thin. Hasn't had enough borscht.
It's got that pancake
a little long in the tooth, you know.
It's got long teeth and flat booties.
Oh, my ideal woman.
True horror. No asshole teeth. That's how I like it.
That's what I'm looking for in a lady, you know.
Oh man, so that sounds like not much of a recommendation, really, at a Straight Chilling, unfortunately. But we're going to be spoiling the shit out of Frankenstein's army, and here comes your warning.
Spoiler warning.
Oh, Bob, I can't remember if you answered, but had you seen this before, or was this a first-time watch?
Yeah, I had never seen this one before. This is the first-time watch for me, so first-time watch for Randy and myself, I guess. There you go. There.
All right.
I do have the plot synopsis typed up, ready to go.
Bob,
if you want to hear
give it to me. During our little pause, Randy said he envied you for getting to write this awesome plot synopsis.
No, the opposite. I do not.
No, I know.
I know. Okay. I didn't know if I just didn't come through right, but
no.
Green with envy.
He wishes he could write the
plot. How you like
envy Randy.
Such distinct and unique characters.
I know.
All with very, very different names.
Tell you all about them. All right, here we go. Towards the end of World War II, a Russian reconnaissance team consisting of 7 soldiers receive a distress signal from their comrades that repeats over and over again. They also lose contact with their high command. They are skeptical of other Russians being in the area, but their leader, Novikov, says they're going to go investigate anyway. Another soldier, Dmitry, is filming the mission and claims to be making a propaganda film about the heroic exploits of the Red Army. They arrive at their destination, which seems to be an abandoned church. When they turn on the generator, they animate a zombie that's been fused with some mechanical parts, a zombot, if you will. The zombot kills Novikov, and Sergei assumes command of the squad. The soldiers find an old man and torture him until he agrees to take them to their alleged endangered comrades. The old man instead leads them into a zombot trap where Ivan is mortally wounded. They retreat back to the church and find some German soldiers hiding from the creatures. One is a nurse and tries to save Ivan, but she fails. Alexei is then killed by a mosquito zombot, while the others flee into the church's catacombs. Sergei then discovers Dmitri is the source of the distress signal, and he's also been jamming their radio, blocking signal to the high command. Dmitri then says he has a secret mission from the Soviet government to either kill or capture the German scientists responsible for creating all the zombots, and to document everything in case they fail. Sergei and Vasily threaten to kill him, but Dmitri says he's also a captain and outranks them. And Dmitri also threatens their families if they disobey him. So they all go deeper into the catacombs, and they encounter wild-ass creatures. They find a chute and force the young German boy to go down first. He's promptly murdered. Fritz is also killed, leading Sergei and Vasily and Sasha to throw Dmitri down the chute with his camera equipment. Of course, got to have the camera equipment. And leave him for dead. Dmitri goes deeper into the facility and encounters more zombots, one of whom is Ivan, who knocks his ass out. When he wakes up, he's greeted by Dr. Victor Frankenstein, the son of Victor Frankenstein, and says he uses his father's notes to create all the weird zombots, but he uses a generator instead of lightning. They hear guns blazing outside. Dmitri admits it's the encroaching Red Army. He then tries to get Frankenstein to work with the Russians, but Frankenstein instead says he knows how to end the war by making each side understand one another by fusing their brains together. Half Soviet, half Nazi. Frankenstein removes half of Sergei's brain and replaces it with a Nazi brain and reanimates him. Frankenstein then straps Dmitri's ass to a table, and he's about to experiment on him as well when the Russians bombard the laboratory. Frankenstein prepares to flee, but Sasha appears and shoots him dead. Sasha cuts off Frankenstein's head and takes it, as well as the camera footage, and leaves Dmitri strapped down to the table to die. As he leaves, Sergei's body comes alive and kills Dmitri. Roll them beautiful credits.
Okay.
Man, that sucks!
I will say, as someone who's generally a fan of found footage and who isn't generally not bothered by the idea that bothers some people who don't like found footage about why are they carrying the camera and, all that kind of stuff. This is one of the worst examples of justifying something to be found footage. It's absolutely ridiculous, and it doesn't make a lick of sense.
I am 1,000% in agreement. This is like, you guys like what we talked about, like Late Night with the Devil. That's technically a found footage film, but I was not really bothered by a lot of like the things that made that not make as much sense as it could, because it kind of was its own thing. But like, if you're gonna do like a straight up found, like we found this footage and here's what's on the tape, like. This shit looks like it was filmed it looked like it was filmed in 2013. Like, why the fuck would you not put a filter on this bitch? Like, come on.
I love how they try to do it doesn't even make sense, because it would be black and white, by the way. One would be black and white.
Yeah, it's for starters.
I love how they try to add like some little filter star, like when it goes in between. And then there's one scene when he first goes into the doctor's office where they do the little kind of like shutter change or whatever, like the lens is changing and it's got that like shutter effect and it like spins or whatever. It's like they do it one time. It's the only time
that they do it a couple of times. It's not very often.
Oh, really? I only noticed it that one scene.
It's kind of substitute for a zoom, and also it conceals a cut. So
I love how they put this like really bad kind of like filter on it. They do this kind of like red lens flare kind of thing in between these hard cuts, but it's still got the sound. I hate the sound in this movie too. The sound design. I'm usually not noticing sound a lot in films, but the sound design in this one, it sounded bad to me.
I didn't clock that as much. I was just too fixated and kind of frustrated with the visuals, man. It's like this is such a like the whole thing that I'm well documented as a found footage nut, and I can forgive a lot, but like the whole point is immersion.
You're forgiving,
right?
man.
Like that is the whole point.
Yeah.
So if I'm watching something that's supposed to be World War II era that looks like a Rob Zombie movie, what the fuck kind of immersion is that? I'm not in.
And they're all speaking English.
Yeah, and they're
like
speaking
really good
English the whole goddamn movie. I'm like, why not just? This is World War II, right? Like, just make them an English battalion. Like, make them an American battalion.
Yeah.
Why the fuck not?
None of that really bothered me. Like, they're all things that like I noticed, but at the end of the day, I felt like I was watching someone play a video game with reanimated corpses with mechanical parts on them. So like I wasn't taking
you got the
any
Bioshock
of that
vibes
seriously. Yeah, it reminded me of like Silent Hill. It reminded me more, even though it's like taking place during World War II, yes, and we see like Germans and Russian soldiers and stuff. I really was like receiving it as like this weird steampunky video game more than anything else.
You're right, though. That's something that bothered me too, because the immersion is terrible in this, because I would say at least 5 or 6 times, because I noticed it, where the monster is literally in the guy's face, and it makes no sense for him to survive the situation. Because they want to show off the monster and the design. It's literally touching the camera again and again and again. It's a monster! It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense.
That, and also like they do the jump scare thing where it's not like walking and oh my god, there's a guy right beside this corner. It's like fucking they are silent and they just straight up appear where they were not a second ago.
Yeah.
And then you watch them and you think, oh wow, they must be like super swift. No, they lumber the fuck around like big daddies in BioShock. They look and sound and act like that, and yet you don't hear them coming. They float down from the rafters like fucking ethereal gods. It's very fucking weird what they choose to do with this stuff. I would argue, like, I think this does have a video game feel to it. Like the design of these things is kind of like video game villains, right? It reminded me of like Villains from the Suffering. Silent Hill is a good pull. BioShock, of course. Like it's that kind of steampunk or whatever. But like the art direction outside of that is so like fucking like just bog standard, gritty, low budget feeling thing. Like I just like there's not a whole lot distinctive about it outside of that. You need the full thing to be art directed in a kind of unique way for any of that stuff to like sort of land for me as threatening. As it was, it looked like fucking TikTok from Return to Oz bumbling around trying to capture people in a giant fucking orb. Like it's very stupid looking a lot of the time. If it had been like a dark fantasy like that, it could have worked. That's kind of eerie. If it was going for eerie instead of gory and visceral, then it might have succeeded, but it didn't do that. So,
I think it's just a case where they just shouldn't have shot it in the style of found footage. There's no real reason to.
Like it's the way they justify some of the plot, but they don't need it to be they don't need to justify it. They don't need to be that way, except for probably budgetary reasons, which understandable, but just if it's not right for the movie, make a different movie is my opinion.
The thing that I did have a problem with was the severe lack of plot, and then the bit of plot that we get sort of like right in the middle of the movie where Dimitri just lays like almost like 100% of the plot on you, like in a 2-minute section, and you're like, oh, that's like the whole movie, and then it's mostly just a showcase for these cool creature designs. And I think the creature designs largely work, but like him, just like he's basically doing everything. He's the source of the distress signal. He's jamming their radio. He's also their captain in secret, but like they don't know that. Maybe he's lying to him. Maybe he's not. But they go along with him anyway for a while, and like he threatens their family, and they eventually just don't care. And like this, it's just that whole bit feels like, I don't know, we got to do something with these guys, right? So here you go. Like kind of the plot almost feels like filler just to get you to the next sequence of like crazy robots that you see.
You know, there are other movies that do that. Yeah. It's just like the story here is just not compelling and it's hard to keep track of the characters. And, you know, it just kind of keeps things moving to see the next guy. And the thing is, for me, like I was saying, like contextually in the context of the movie presents to me, I think a lot of these things don't look great. I think that in a different setting, they would look really cool. Like, for example, the one that I really loved, the one character design that that really stuck out to me is like, okay, that's really unique and fucking silly and fun, was Dr. Frankenstein's little bed, like a side table guy that was just legs on a table, like just kind of stumbled his ass around. That looked like something out of Return to Oz or out of like a dark fantasy or something. I would have really liked to see more like batshit bananas, twisted Alice in Wonderland type shit like that than continually seeing like dudes with big claws. Like, I don't know why the big
thought
claws was a huge thing.
The propeller head guy was
That's
kinda
what
neat.
Fan Man. We'll
That
call
one
him
was cool.
Fan Man, yeah.
But also
There was,
impractical. He's just like, I don't know, like the guy with the narwhal driller killer nose,
Mosquito
or whatever. Like,
Mang,
this-
The
This is
driller
just
killer.
to do it. Like it's there's no real benefit to that.
The Fang Mang and the driller killer and
I gotta kill
yeah.
this. Like I'm slobbing a knob.
I like that. I do like Fan Man because it create and the kind, like, I don't know. I think that's the thing too, is some of the designs are quite disappointing because they're not distinct enough. One thing I will mention that's absolute another thing. It just, I like World War II movies or setting things or whatever. It's just a very interesting aesthetic, and it's a way to make things look interesting. But like one time when they go into that, when he goes into that section where there's two side by side and there's one missing in the middle, and then they do the jump scare or whatever, they have caution tape attached to their claws or whatever. Dude, caution tape wasn't even, I had to look it up because I was like, this is stupid as shit. Caution tape wasn't even invented until the 1960s. And so like there's no dedication to this actual time that you're setting in. Now Fan Man and even the guy in that scene who had the big like diver's head or whatever, like those are cool designs, like you said, in themselves. And had you put them, or had you, like Randy said, dedicated more to the art style of what's around and like make it look like film, or again, if it was some grainy black and white or something like that, I think it would really pop off a lot better. But as it is, it just looks like dudes in big clunky costumes that can barely see what the fuck is going on, which is what it is.
Yeah.
There's no hiding anything here. There's no, you can clearly see that they're not capable of utilizing their low budget effort. And so it just looks low budget.
something.
It's just contrasting in a bad way. I'm sorry, you had go
I
ahead.
had there's not much trivia on this, but I did want to throw this bit out there. It might inform our conversation a little bit here. So this is a bit of a paragraph, but I want to read it real quick. So most of the monster designs come from the creator's pre-production that started in the early 2000s with the working title of Worst Case Scenario, as one of the first attempts to use the internet to gather support from genre fans by involving them as extras in big scenes. The plot of this splatter comedy, which is what it was going to be, would have centered around undead German World War II soldiers coming up from the sea and killing tourists on a beach, and it would be produced by Brian Yuzna. Production did begin in 2004, but by 2009, the project was officially abandoned, and then the team started working on Frankenstein's Army instead. And they had released a couple teaser trailers, yada yada. So like it was originally supposed to be a comedy, and like reading that makes me think of those Dead Snow movies, which do something very similar, and I think are way more successful than this movie is.
It's a good call.
But I wonder if like they just weren't really steeped in like horror, and like I mean I think these creatures would work better in a comedy because they are clunky and kind of goofy. But I don't know. I maybe they just couldn't drum up the cash to make a comedy, and then they settled for this kind of thing because found footage creature features were popular and cheap to make. I don't know.
That doesn't make sense to me though, like because a comedy can be like we're making a comedy right now by just us bullshitting on a fucking microphone for a cut
comedy.
rate.
So
Successful. But like there's no overhead to making people laugh. Like it's the costumes are the costumes either way. The setting, like in order to sell it as a true horror or whatever, and like you need the settings or whatever.
Well, I'm not necessarily saying it's more expensive. I'm just saying people like the money men probably see comedy as more of a gamble. It's a guess, but like
maybe, especially around that time. Maybe.
I don't know. I think, but I mean, like, what year did Dead Snow come out? Because I also saw that coming in this, and that
I would guess 2011 if I had to.
I was gonna guess 2010, but let me give it a quick Google.
So yeah, I feel like they could have leaned into some comedy a little bit more because they saw that work.
Oh,
yeah,
there you go.
So Dead Snow 2 was probably around the same time this came out.
Probably, yeah.
It's probably pretty well established as a pretty successful movie.
Maybe those movies. Well, I guess the first one did okay if they made a sequel. Maybe the sequel didn't do well or so. I don't know. Just guessing.
I don't know. All I know is, it just doesn't, they feel incongruous with their surroundings, and it really, really sticks in my craw a lot. Like, these things are kind of cool looking in themselves. It makes sense that they were just placed there out of a different production. It just, it makes sense in terms of, oh, that's why it feels so strange. I don't know. I think that, if it was a dark fantasy, I already said that, could be cool, but I think a comedy could work. If it's goofier, if everything around it is a lot less grounded, then their lack of grounding makes it more palatable for me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I will say, so for some positives, I do kind of like the premise. The idea of, Frankenstein maybe being German and his son, living on and having these experimentations and using them in the army, that makes a kind of sense, and an interesting kind of sense. And I like the, I agree with Randy where I feel like the production needed to lean more into kind of dressing these places up and stuff like that. But I did like the spaces, the tight corridors, the basements, even in Randy's picture, that kind of that space with the stone walls, and
the church was kind of cool.
Yeah, it did make you feel oh shit, something could be right. That liminal space, something's right around the corner, or, you can't see what's down the hall and just slightly turned or whatever. So I did like those spaces, but then sometimes, again, to jump into the net, sometimes it got really dumb too. When the guy was sneaking around this just giant empty warehouse,
right?
And he the things come in towards him, and he's behind the little shaft, and then he kind of scampers over, but he's acting like he's hiding, so it's just quite silly.
I can't decide if this movie feels more like a video game where it's half stealth but not done well, or if it feels more like a Halloween Horror Nights walkthrough that turned into a movie.
Yeah, it's a beautiful blend of those things. Well, it's a blend of those things.
It's a beautiful blend.
Let's not speak here.
No.
Yeah. The whole time I was watching this,
back in,
I felt like I was at a video, watching some, Randy play a video game in middle school or some shit. But yeah, the costumes are sort of at that level of a Halloween Horror Nights, where they're impressive, but they're not really gonna scare the shit off you. You don't necessarily believe that there's any chance
they
what
need
you're
the jump
real.
For you to get scared.
Yeah,
they need that part.
It doesn't quite have that, but the shitty hiding and stuff is it's all video game to me. You're just kind of halfway behind this fucking tiny pole that could never actually hide your ass, But I do think something that you mentioned, Juice, was the Mangala aspect of the Nazis, just sort of being replaced with Victor Frankenstein. I think that does make good sense and is not a terrible idea for a horror movie at all. So I think
it's a kind of a silly, fun idea for a movie like this. It really does have some. I don't know. It feels comic booky, and we all know that comic booky things can work on screen, they have many times before. So I don't know why, for whatever reason, this one just wasn't landing for me. But go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, I just think that's a cool seed for a horror movie, and making a found footage horror movie set during World War II is also a good idea. We've seen some of them before, we did Overlord. We reviewed Overlord, not found footage.
Right.
I'm trying to think if we've seen another horror movie that was found footage based in World War II. I can't think of another one.
World War II. Well, no, because that's the thing is it would have to be it would be the same problem Juice and I were talking about at the beginning, which is the bare mechanics of a camera of that era doesn't lend itself.
And they try to address that in this movie, and they're oh, that's a fancy camera. I've never seen a camera like that. Are you recording audio at the same time? And
is that a microphone on the camera? That's terrible.
But if that makes it almost worse, because we're at a point where that's not standard, and we're looking at fucking HD screens right now. It shouldn't look like that. And honestly, it would make the monsters scarier if they didn't. If they went full effect.
The wrong aspect ratio too.
Also, too, they should. I mean,
the
if you're gonna make
shots,
yeah. Well,
way
also,
more
if you're gonna
atmospheric.
make if you're gonna lean into the idea of this fan man, and the fan spin around, like at least put a little, make the camera steampunky, make it look crazy or some shit. I mean, I don't know. I feel like nothing is leaned into enough to capture anything that, like, to bring this up in an idea of like, oh, it's having this resurgence or anything. There's no element in here that's rich enough for me to hold on to say, oh, that's a gem of its time, oh, there's not anything this steampunky made around this time, or or we don't get any World War II horror films, so that this is a great example of that. But all the elements that it has in it, it's not leaning into anything well enough to capture that element and make it special in its realm. So it's kind of confusing about why it would be this kind of resurgence now. I don't know. I think that like it really is about like, first of all, it's just like on the timeline, like it's just been the right number of years for people to just come back and say that wasn't so bad, like to maybe reevaluate it or think about it for the first time in many years. But like, yeah, I have to agree. Like it's a movie that like the best thing it's got going for it is the creature designs, and the creature designs feel like they belong to a different movie to me. Like that's just on the surface, that's my big issue, I think. At one of many, but like that's probably the biggest one, is like they're cool in their own right, but they look silly in this context, and trying to make them to be taken seriously is not working. Just straight up not working. Well, talking about the comedy aspect, one thing that kept popping in my mind too, it was like, well, in some way, I kept considering it a kind of version of like Puppet Master.
I was going to say it is a Puppet Mastery movie.
Yeah. Like the thing about it is like, well, what's this crazy doll and how do they have this distinct? And in that way, I was also kind of a little disappointed too, because there weren't enough so distinct creatures. They were, I mean, like they were things that, this one's got claws and this one has a thing that opens on its head or whatever. But other than saying like Mosquito Man and Fan Man, I don't know what else to call anything else because they're not distinct enough.
The nurse at the end was really distinct to me.
The nurse, but we didn't get to see her do anything cool.
Yeah, she had like a Bride of Frankenstein vibe that was notable. And then like we didn't see this other creature do anything, but like when he's walking through the office and you see, I believe it's Victor Frankenstein's mother's head sewn to a teddy bear.
Oh, no, I hated that. I hated that.
I like that.
Dumb. I didn't like it.
It is dumb, but like I would much rather lean into dumb at that point.
Yeah,
like
it was a big video game moment for me. Like when you walk into the dude's office and you're looking,
that's true.
looking for his papers and you see some fucked up shit or whatever.
It was a video game.
God.
Yeah.
There was one moment. I'm pretty confident. I'm like 80% confident when he's walking after that scene when he's walking up some stairs. Whatever, he's like going up these stairs that like go back and forth or whatever, and each time I think there's going to be a jump scare, and because it's kind of dark when you first get there, there's window. I am really confident that they took like the same shot and just put it in again to make it seem like he was going up the stairs for longer than he was actually going.
It's possible
because it happened, and I was like, I'm like, that's the same exact shot I just watched. Like, I feel like it was. And so there are elements of it that are just like that, where I just feel like it's not stitched together well enough. It's not like they tried, and they did okay, but really at the end of the day, they just couldn't mask the I don't know, the overall craft is not good enough to put these pieces together.
Yeah.
You know what else it kind of reminded me of is something like, and I don't like this movie, but what is it? Repo, the Genetic Opera, like that went full bore into an art style, and I did not like that movie. I did not like it, but it had the guts to really lean in, and I really feel like that's the big lacking thing here. There's a lot of things this movie reminds me of, but it does not stand up distinctive on its own, which is just the shame of it. But I don't know. I don't want to completely I haven't said anything positive yet, I don't think. So I do want to praise it for for those art I'm sorry for the art direction of some of these monsters. I agree though that what was great about Puppet Master, which is in many ways a very similar kind of story, at least in some of them, because God knows they're not consistent. But you've got this guy who's animating dead or unalive things and making them do his bidding for them, and he only serves them and all this shit. But there was only a handful of puppets, and they were all very distinctive in and of themselves. You could tell every single one of them apart at a glance, and they spent extra time with each of them throughout the movies. They would go back to one or two, they would give each puppet a couple of scenes. There's so many fucking creatures in this movie, and a lot of them feel reused. To like you were saying, there's only the drill mosquito boy. There's the fan man. There's a handful of them, but they don't get multiple scenes. They're in it for a few seconds, and then it's done. And it just doesn't really. It doesn't give you enough to leave a strong impression that of characterization within those monsters that are the best part of the movie. So that's kind of another thing that was an issue for me. I don't know, man. I can forgive a whole lot in found footage so long as they really lean into the immersion, and they didn't do that either. So I'm not left with a lot to like about this movie, to be honest.
We're wrapping it up. Let's go ahead and rate this thing out of 5.
Okay.
Did you have something else you wanted to hit on?
Well, I was going to say, we've talked about the video game aspect of it, and we talked about the, so we said it's kind of like a video game. It's kind of like a Halloween Horror Nights. There was one more element that it also kind of reminded of, which it's way out of its time, which made it feel even kind of worse, because by this point it was 20 years removed, especially with the church setting. And I think that very first one that they encountered that had no face, which actually was kind of a cool design too. It had no face, and it had it was white, and it had the drill. Yeah. That kind of also too, there were elements of parts of this that made it feel like a Tool video or a Marilyn Manson video. It felt like a late 90s, isn't this so weird and twisted, bro? Kind of element to it with the setting,
the old rusty gutter.
There's a stone cross in the back, but there's this monster and it's got no bait. There was just elements of that made me think I could see Marilyn Manson standing in front of this and acting real crazy,
that thing kind of looked
Tool,
Yeah.
So there was elements of that. I was like, oh, that's kind of looks like a cheesy 90s metal video sometimes.
That's a good
trying
call.
to go. I can see that. Yeah. It's trying to take itself pretty seriously.
You like that, Bob?
Which is
I love it.
Just a shame.
I'm so edgy. I like my music on edge.
Oh my god.
Maynard James Keenan edges me, dog. Let's rate this thing. Let's rate this thing. Yeah, that's really fucking weird. Sorry. Let's rate this thing out of 5. Ray and Deezy, why don't you kick us off? How do you feel?
I mean, I've just been laying into this movie pretty hard. I don't the thing is if it was a little bit worse, it might have been more fun to watch too. And it wasn't quite that either. So
this movie's too good, says Randy.
It's just a little too good to be so bad it's good. I don't know. It lives in this it lives in probably the worst area of my rating system, which is my personal entertainment value was low, and the craft was low, and the intentions were not well realized. All the things that I look to as my guiding light are pretty low here. But it does have those a couple of cool looking monsters, and some not terrible ideas to seeds of ideas that aren't really well germinated but are there. I don't know. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but that almost makes it less enjoyable, is I guess what I'm coming from with that. Ultimately, I'm going to give it... Jesus Christ. I don't want to even begin that conversation. I'm going to give it, I think, a 1.5. It's just not... It's not working for me. I appreciate that maybe there's some nostalgia around it or whatever, but it feels like a bunch of creatures from a different movie being placed into this setting that doesn't make sense, doesn't adhere to logic, and also isn't funny. Like isn't an unintentional funniness thing. It's just too, I don't know, too much for me.
All right,
I'm gonna leave it at that. I can't verbalize any more than I already have.
1.5 from Randeezy. Juice, how do you feel?
Not good, Bob. Not good. Again, I'm just going to come back to, and I'm going to list a couple off, is like, the thing is this movie does have style, but the problem is it has a lot of different styles, and each style it doesn't ever lean into or fully capture. So another thing that we didn't really get to talk about is another aspect of it is the kind of schlocky gore, maybe kind of like where the instance where she pulls the guy's helmet off and his brain is inside. Okay. Yeah. Or there's scenes where the guy's cutting people's heads off and he's like, ooh, there's too much brain in here. And he's like kind of cutting some of it out, gets stuck. And it seems very silly. But there's only like a couple of moments like that in a whole hour-and-a-half movie. And so you're like, well, it's not really that movie. And then you're like, okay, it's about these creature designs. But then when you're like, well, I mean, really the only kind of special ones, like Randy said, it's not like a puppet master where there's 6 of them or something, or 5, and they're so absolutely distinct and you see them again and again and again. It's like there's just this hodgepodge where most of them are, you can't really identify them, or they have like weird elements like claws, and you're like, well, that doesn't really make any sense for World War II, and they got caution tape on them. And it's just, I don't like, there's so many elements, the liminal space, but then they go into this like factory. They're just, it's like there's hints of like, oh, that could have been good, or they could have had, that could have been their element, that could have been their thing. But it's just like 8 different things all just, and there's just sprinkles of it all together, and it doesn't really vibe well for me. So and I was disappointed with the schlocky gore at the end when they had just captured like all the remaining guys. I was like, well, aren't these the people who are supposed to be, you're supposed to have red shirts that at least get killed in interesting ways by these interesting monsters. So a monster has a fan for its head, so somebody's gonna get all chopped up. So like they didn't even do that
down right away.
Yeah, they didn't even do that, where they like have just these random people that don't matter or exist like as interesting characters to die in interesting ways, but they don't even really do that. So I might go slightly higher than Randy, but not much. I'm gonna give it a 1.75. Bob,
1.75
out of 5.
Bob, why do you think this is a 5-star film?
I wouldn't go that high. I'm a little warmer on this than you guys, but not by a ton. I think it's mostly inoffensive. Like it's a fine watch, but it didn't like blow my hair back necessarily. I intended to mention that scene where the nurse rips the dude's head off and like his brain falls out into his own helmet, because that scene really did stick out to me. She is a German nurse, and she convinces them not to kill her because she's going to like see if she can save their friend. And she does absolutely nothing that requires any nurse training whatsoever, and just rips his fucking helmet off, which they were trying not to do, and just immediately kills him. It's actually pretty comical, and you see his brain and there's blood and shit. And I was like, that's what I'm talking about. The movie does need a lot more moments like that. That's a good point. Yeah. I enjoyed that fine. I think the creatures here don't bother me quite as much as they seem to bother you guys, because I do see them as this goofy steampunky clunky thing, the BioShock kind of thing, and I think they generally nail that aspect. It's not scary by any means, and some of it does look a little goofy, but I can accept it for what it is, and I think they're fine. I think they largely work for me. The plot is so razor thin. There's like a seed of a cool idea, and then there's just like nothing going on with these characters, and like you don't really care about them at all, or like hardly know anything about them. What you do know is probably a lie. Frankenstein at the end, like he's kind of goofy a little bit. I wish they would have made him more goofy, because he's he ultimately ends up being a little flat, and like he's supposed to be the crazy motherfucker that created all these wild things. They could have gone bigger with him. I wish the villain from Popcorn had played him. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, that would have made me like it a lot better. Go a little bigger, and also a little island Caribbean music in there couldn't hurt. Hell yeah! This was shot in Jamaica, and they just took what they could get. I did actually. Speaking of the music, they had some sort of like Russian chant thing that they started the movie with that I thought sounded sort of ominous and like got me in the right mindset. I thought that was a good pick. But overall, it's a little thin. Yeah, I think we pretty much said everything else I wanted to. I'm going to go just kind of right down the middle, 2.5 on this one. It's fine. Not a terrible watch. That's going to put our aggregate at a 1.9 for Frankenstein's Army. Like I mentioned at the top of the show, when you guys do pick a flick for us to review, you have the opportunity, if you so choose, to send over a voicemail or an email with your own thoughts. And Robert did send over an email, so let's see what he's got to say. You got that pulled up, Juice?
I do. All right. Sorry, my guy. Here we go. It's great that my episode pick will be coming out on the same week as my birthday. Happy birthday.
Whoops.
Hey.
I'm not much of a critic, but here's my quick review. I didn't know about this film until the director accused Capcom of plagiarizing one of his monster designs in Resident Evil Village. I never played Resident Evil Village.
I'd like to.
He said whether or not his claim was justified, I'll let you guys decide. I wish I knew which one it was. But
I think it's the propeller head, I believe.
Oh, Fan Man,
yeah.
All right. I'll look into that after this. But when I watched it for myself, it immediately became one of my favorite found footage films. The original creature designs are very much the selling point, but I also enjoyed the World War II being a setting for horror films. I'm hoping you guys review Outpost sometime in the future. I don't know what that is. To end off, I'll give it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed my first Patreon pick. Roast me if you think I have terrible taste in movies. Keep chilling. Oh, Bobby. Sorry, my guy.
Bobby Borscht.
Nothing we could say
roasted.
now could roast you further. We did a pretty good job. No, I mean, we always feel very guilty whenever somebody pays us to talk shit about a movie they like. It feels really bad. But we really appreciate you putting it up and allowing us to be honest about it.
I'm glad that I got to see this. Like I never would have watched it otherwise. Not my favorite thing, but I enjoyed it. Fair enough. So
yeah, if I could see somebody doing something with these ideas and with these creatures, like maybe putting them into their video game that they're releasing for the Sony PlayStation called Resident Evil Village.
They did. Well, I hope this.
I guess. I was going to say Outpost looks like a 2008 movie. It's a British war horror film that says a mysterious businessman hires a group of mercenaries on a routine mission to protect him, not knowing of the long hidden secret that lies here. Okay. Never seen that.
Yeah, I never heard of that one either.
I mean, the only other like World War II horror movies I can think of are like Brooklyn 45 and like the others, and it's like movies that don't happen on
and
the
Overlord,
front, Yeah. Oh yeah, and Overlord.
Yeah,
that's always the one that sticks in my mind. Is
yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I really appreciate you letting us talk about this movie, Bobby. It's just it's a little not for me. Which is crazy because it's found footage. And
Happy birthday! Hope you get unlimited borscht on the week of your birth, dog. Thanks for picking this flick. Let's go and jump over into our Rotten Tomatoes segment and see what the critics and users have to say.
Certified fresh to death.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Rotten Tomatoes segment in which I'm going to ask these gentlemen to give me their best guess of the aggregate positive score for Frankenstein's Army on RottenTomatoes.com. This critics review is 25 reviews large on this particular film, 25 reviews to count here. So we're starting with Bob. Bob, what do you think those 25 reviewers think of this film? What percentage is positive?
I don't expect it to be super high. TBH. I don't think this is going to be one for the critics. This is definitely kind of schlocky. low budget, I like verging on exploitation too. So like I could see it catching some flack here. So I'll go with pretty low. I'll take probably a 40 flat.
40 flat. All right. Juice, where are you coming in?
I think that's too high, Bob. I'm gonna go lower. I'm gonna take the under on that. I think it could easily be in the teens or low 20s, but I'll play it safe and I'll say 30%.
30. Okay, we got 30 from Juice and 40 from Bob. Well, 16 percentage point gap for the correct answer. And that correct answer is 56%.
Oh no.
56%.
Damn.
Not certified anything. Just not it's got the splatter. It's got the splatter, people.
It's a certified hell skeet is what it is.
It's a lot
guess so.
higher than I thought. I could see this being like, I was like picturing 17% in my mind, honestly. I really thought
It could go either way. But the thing is, like, it's a 25 review aggregate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the people that know about this film are in the lower numbers, so I think maybe it's just the people that are interested in this sort of thing. Let's move over to the poopometer or the popcornometer or the user score. There are 2,500 plus ratings on the user score. That's a significantly larger margin.
Large Marge.
Large Marge sent you. We'll start with Juice this time, right? Yeah. Juice, why don't you let me know what you think the aggregate positive score is for these 2,500 users?
I will let you know what I think. It is... I'm going to go with users. I guess it'll be higher. Guess I'll go slightly higher than I did before. 50%.
Right down the middle. All right, Bob, what about you? Where are you coming in at?
I think it could be pretty low. How low do I go? Juice takes a 50. I'll take the under with a 40 flat again, please.
40 flat. All right, well, there's just a single percentage point difference between the correct answer and one of you. And that one of you is Bob, sweeping the board today.
Ooh.
That's 41%.
Damn.
41.
Oh, we're
Congratulations.
sweeping skeet tonight, boys.
We're squeating.
Squeeping the squeet.
Oh, no.
Squeeching the screech.
I don't even know what we're doing. I have no idea.
We don't know. Yeah.
What
You
we're
already
doing.
got all your right answers. You can get this one wrong.
Thank you, Diddy.
Yeah, you know it. There's no critics consensus on here, I'm sorry to say. So I'm going to jump over to the critics blurbs and see if there's any funny negative comments here, or see if there's any negative comments that turn out to be funny. Here's one. Just feels like great potential was wasted on a movie interested in gore and shock value over atmosphere and genuine terror. Yeah, that's a reasonable take. I think you could also do it the other way with it.
Yeah, that's the thing. It could have gone either way. It just
kind
didn't
of
go either
maybe.
way.
Yeah, it just didn't choose a lane.
Yeah.
Let's read one more here. If the film had played up this type of satire-friendly theme and offered a little humor to balance its initial wartime realism, Frankenstein's army might have been sufficiently rewatchable to attract a small cult following. That's literally so like exactly what we just said. One guy says it's not serious enough, the other guy says it's too serious, and both are right. They're both fucking right.
Yeah.
Damn. Crazy. All right, really, that's about it for Rotten Tomatoes. Congratulations to Bob on that. And I don't know, what we got trivia here?
We already covered the trivia that I could find on this, so let's go ahead and jump into our Cooter of the Week.
Straight chillin'. Cooter of the week.
Juice, what is a Cooter and why do we hunt them?
Oh, Cooter's a character type and a straight chillin' exclusive. Cooter has to hit 3 of these 5 points to be considered a Cooter, but we want the Cooter with the most points. The 5 points of Cooterdom are sexual deviance, manipulation, smug arrogance, overall looking attire, and overall patheticness, boys. I think there was one, probably at least 2 Cooters on my mind. I'm not going to go for the easy one first. I was going to go for, I don't know these people's names, so looking it up on Google, I think it's the guy whose name is Vasily. Maybe.
That's who I was thinking of. The guy that's like temper, got a huge temper.
Who questions the leader over his,
the guy who eventually has his arm off. And,
yes. Okay. So smug arrogance, I was going to go with yes on that. Mm-hmm. I also was going to go with sexual deviancy because it seemed quite apparent that he wanted to rape that nurse.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
That was, he was like, yeah. So that was the thing that really stuck out to me for him. And then
looking attire, not so much. Everybody's in their wartime rags. And
manipulation, he does like try to manipulate a coup. Kind of.
Who?
A coup. Coup d'etat.
Oh, a coup. I was thinking like a coup from Samurai Jack.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean that's, I guess that's not really manipulation in this case. It's more just like straight up power grab. Like, no concealing it.
Is he the one? I can't remember. It might have been the other guy actually who suggested putting the kid into the grinder thing.
I think it was him, and they were all fine with that.
Yeah,
that scene should have landed with some sadness, by the way. And I just felt nothing. That's not.
Well, they didn't even show it really.
I was like, did he make it down there? It just seems like
he's probably okay.
If they had pulled him out and he's like,
he's all right.
Fucked up, and they showed like some gore, then I mean that's something. All you see is smoke coming up. That's all you see, and then the kid just disappears. I don't know either.
But so, and then at the end we see him again and he's got his arm off. Do we actually get to see him transform into a monster? I wasn't sure about that.
He gets shot with he gets a shot from Frankenstein in the neck because he's like, which one is the better communist or some shit?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
The
and then Frankenstein. We could do Frankenstein too.
Yeah, we at least get his like overall point of view, so I think we got a good start there.
Definitely smug.
Yes. Won't even work with the Red Army, damn.
Manipulation for sure.
Manipulation.
Yeah, he does pretend to be an animal feeder to start.
Looking
at tires, pretty typical.
Normal, yeah. Sexual deviancy? I don't think so. Not that I remember.
Patheticness?
I don't know. You think he's banging that nurse?
Dude, I don't know.
I don't know. He sewed his mother's head into a teddy bear or somebody's head onto a teddy bear. Who knows? That could be sexual deviance for all we know.
Let's just assume it is.
I'm going to assume that it is.
Let's jump to wild conclusions.
I mean, is it more likely that it is than it isn't? Probably.
I think so.
Well, I'm going to go smear some mud on my ass.
That metal band.
Either way, I think both of them hit at least 3, so I think we could give it to both.
I think, and I would give him patheticness just on the absolute idiocy of the plan of putting 2 halves. 2 brain halves together.
I love that. One communist brain and one Nazi brain. Like they're just like so brain. Yeah. That's this is the Nazi brain. And it's the left side and the right. So
Nazi's crazy.
So yeah, I think we could give it. I think we got 2 Cooter lights at least this week.
Yeah. Sounds fair to me.
Put him in Cooter juvie.
I'm a fair man. I'm a fair, just man.
You're a giver. I say it every week. All right.
Swinging.
He gives.
God damn.
He gives.
Let's talk about what we've been watching this week, boys.
Hey gang, what you been watching?
Randy, you said you hadn't been watching much. Been watching anything?
Yeah, I legitimately don't know that I have anything to offer. I've been just very, very busy. So I haven't watched anything of note. I've watched a few YouTube videos here and there or whatever, listened to a few podcasts or whatever. Nothing I'd bring up as in particular
Do less
to be brought up. All right, you got it.
Thanks, man. Juice, what you been watching?
Not much either, but a little bit more than that. I did end up finishing season 3 of Singles Inferno, so now I'm all caught up.
Milv Island?
Mills Island. The Mills.
How did the Milvs fare?
Well, they got a tall glass of soju at the end of the day. But the only other thing I watched, I watched this movie that came out. It was a big one in Korea. Was it last year, 2024? Maybe it came out either that or the end of 2023. And in English, it's called 12 the Day. It's a historical kind of drama film about the military coup takeover that happened in 1979, and it all happens in one night. And it was actually quite interesting and very terrifying, actually, because it is based on a true story. And it was pretty much how like this small group of generals essentially made their own coup and took over in one night by positioning their own troops. Like they were all in control of some like battalion or whatever, and they were like, all right, at this time we're going to capture this minister so he can't sign off on anything, and we're going to block this minister so he can't sign off. And then everyone was confused. They're like, who do we follow? Like, who's the highest ranking? And in that way, it was kind of like Godzilla too, where it was like the bureaucracy of like, where one person was like, well, yeah, I definitely want to help, but like, who am I? Like, who, and stuff like that. And it's pretty fucked up actually, because it literally the country changed in like one night, and then it was like a military dictatorship for like 15 years or something like that. Because of that, just because of that one night. So
I'm not concerned about any of that.
Yeah. So it was quite sobering, honestly, because I was like, damn, yeah, I mean, and that's how it played out too. So that was on my Korean Netflix, but I don't know if it's on American Netflix or not. But
I'm sure it's been banned.
Yeah, it was a good movie.
There's a lot of thought crimes in that, by the sound of things.
Yeah, so it's called 12 the Day because it happened on December 12th, 1979. So
yeah.
But yeah, that's all I've been watching. Bob, you said you've been watching. Oh, go.
I did remember one thing I was going to bring up. I did finally. I thought I had finished season 1 of Righteous Gemstones, and I just like dropped it. Apparently not. Beck and I went back and watched the final 2 episodes, and it's like, wow, that ended on a totally different note than I thought it did. So yeah, that's one thing I have been watching. Is got a little bit back into Righteous Gemstones. May continue that. Now, Bob,
fill out the list here.
Season 4 is dropping in a month or something like that.
Oh, is it?
I think I watched season 3.
Dude, the sister in that show
Steve
is
Zahn.
Fucked.
She is funny as hell, dude.
She cracks me up, but holy shit, I'm just like, the things that you are saying are so obscene, and that's me speaking.
Oh man, yeah, she's really fucking dirty. Her husband is like so like straight laced and innocent for the most part too, and the dynamic is.
He got a fucking earring. It made me laugh.
It's so good. Hard. She tells him one thing that always like stuck in my mind for some reason. She tells him like, you can beat around this bush with that uncircumcised dick. I don't know why. It just stuck in my brain forever. What have I been watching? Well, let me tell you. John Wick, revisited that. Still an awesome action movie. Keanu Reeves doing what he does best. Beating the shit out of people. Shooting some guns. Driving some cars. Good shit. That whole franchise is just pretty fucking great at what it does, actually. Also rewatched Hitch. The rom-com, if you recall, with Will Smith.
I remember cleaning up the theaters after that one.
Just use condoms everywhere. empty bottles of liquor.
No. No, just a really, really, really loud Beyonce saying "gabba gabba gabba" over and over again. That
Fun.
song is in the credits. That I'll remember that for the rest of my fucking life.
I'm sorry. Well, I like the movie actually. It held up better than I kind of anticipated. It's pretty funny. There's a lot of physical comedy in that movie that I just had totally forgotten about. And that sort of style of comedy is just not really made anymore and hasn't really been for a minute. So I don't know, it's just kind of like cool to see that kind of stuff. I like it. Check it out. Good rom-com. Also watched that movie, The Coffee Table, that came out last year as a horror movie. I mean, I guess you'd call it a horror movie. It's really fucked up. It's not like supernatural or anything. More of a thriller, I guess. Anyway, it's a foreign language film, and it was picking up a lot of steam last year. People were, you know how these headlines read. It's the most fucked up thing you've ever seen in your life. You won't sleep.
Maximum terror.
Exactly, shit like that.
I vomited and shit myself
I
9
know.
times in the theater while watching this movie.
Precisely. It's not that. I mean, it's fucked up, but it's far from the worst thing you'll ever see in your life. It is just generally unenjoyable though because of the subject matter, and I do not recommend it. You just don't need to watch it, really.
Oh damn!
It's on
I've
Shudder.
heard that it's quite sick, but I have
Spanish
no earthly
language
idea in what
film,
way.
eh?
The
Yeah.
last time I heard
Described as
people
a
talking about
Black
Sorry, go ahead.
comedy.
I was not laughing. Well, there's one character. So the movie is about this couple, and they just had their first baby, and the movie opens up, and they're at this furniture store, and there's this furniture salesman trying to sell them a table. The table is stupid looking, but the way he sells it is funny, and that one character is the only funny part in the whole movie, because he's like, it's the greatest table ever built. It is indestructible. The glass will never break on this table. And the way he sells it's just so ridiculous and over the top. That is funny, but the rest of the movie is like black as it. Like if it is supposed to be like humorous, it is the blackest humor. It is like not enjoyable. I do not recommend
The way people
it.
talk about it, I don't know anything beyond what you just told me, but the way people talk about it reminds me of how people talk about we need to
Talk about Kevin.
It's like the Johnsons. No, it's not that. It's the something about the Johnsons or
the
something.
one me and you covered.
The weird
Randy.
thing about strange thing about
the weird
Johnsons
thing,
or something.
strange thing. Yeah. I can't remember who directed that. It was somebody.
That's Ari Aster.
Yeah,
Ari
short
Aster,
film
that's
that
right.
he did.
Yeah. And that one is like just supremely fucked up, like
is,
in its
yeah.
context and subject matter.
Kind of, it's tonally kind of similar to that, I would say.
Okay. That's the vibe I was getting from people talking about it, so that makes sense. And I'm not running to see something like that very quickly.
It wasn't like super like creative necessarily. It's just there's like this one fucked up thing that happens, and then the rest of the movies you just watch people like suffering about it basically, and you're like, oh, this is not the way I want to spend 90 minutes necessarily. I don't recommend it. Also been watching season 3 of White Lotus, and it's still a very good show. You should check it out if you haven't.
I need
And
to
that's
see
it.
that season 3.
That's what I've been watching.
Cool.
We do have one voicemail, so let's go and jump over to our Hotline Screams.
Hotline Scream.
If you guys are listening and would like to call and leave a voicemail to be featured on next week's show, hit us up at 904-638-3231. We're going to be hearing from our boy Steve tonight. Let's hear what he's got to say.
Don't let it suck. That's my job. Well, I'll be right over. Hey, fellas. Steve here. I just listened to the Signs episode, and two things. One, I need to watch that movie again. It is good. I haven't seen it in a long time, probably since it came out. So I'll do that. And two, there was a voicemail from someone I'm not familiar with, but I guess I'm going to have to. Lucky me to get familiar with him. Big Hog Trey, which, boy, hell of a name. I have greatly mismarketed myself out
Small
there for
hog
the world.
Steve.
So I'll have to work on that. But he told a quick story about walking into the wrong movie theater and feeling stupid. So I just wanted to make him feel a little bit better. I did the exact same thing. This is probably like 15 years ago. I was on a date with this gothy kind of chick that I really had a thing for. And I don't remember what it was. We went to see one of the Jason Bourne movies. I can't remember which one it was. So we walk into the theater, and I thought we were a few minutes late. Missed like the first minute or two in my head. And this movie is fucking cranking. Like, it is going 100 miles an hour. And I thought, holy shit, this movie really just throws you right into the thick of it. Huh? Like, they are opening 0 to 60 big time. And then 5 minutes later, it ended. So clearly we walked into the wrong theater. This was before, like, you could just find the movie on your app. I don't know. We probably found the playing time from a fucking newspaper or something. So, unfortunately, we couldn't just quickly correct and find a new time. So I don't remember what we did. But it worked out. So, okay. I also was not on drugs. So if I can make that mistake not on drugs, then Big Hog Trey, trademark, shouldn't feel so bad for making that mistake on drugs. Okay. Love you guys.
God damn.
Thanks for calling, Steve.
Thanks for calling, Steve. I want to know more about this goth chick. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Lay it on us, big dog.
Apparently. Like, what? Did y'all get
It
married,
worked out
or,
real sweet.
Oh, no. We missed the movie. What do we do with our evening?
It's a Dennis
you can't
Reynolds
marry
shit.
the moth.
The moth girl.
You can't marry the moth girl.
Dude.
You can't marry the moth girl. She's mine.
We all know Mothmang's got that fucking wagon he's dragging, so you know the moth girl's got a wagon too.
Oh my lord! But no, you can't marry the goth girls. You know, they're like a 6-month top, relationship. But still, I'm curious. I'm
Like
curious
half of
what's
our
going on.
listeners are gonna fucking murder you for saying
Yeah,
that.
what the fuck?
That's of their own doing. They know what I'm talking about. They
guy.
know. They know what's going on.
That's of their
This
own.
guy over
Okay.
They know.
Everybody
They know.
remember
They
this
agree.
day when Justin's all like, "Oh yeah, I'm so
The
goth.
voice
I
of
love
women on this
vampires."
podcast.
Like,
Justin,
They know.
they know how they're fucking up. What the hell?
They agree with me.
They agree.
If you're a sexy goth lady and you like to call in and agree with Soju, go ahead and call in for next week.
But if you don't, please don't call.
I don't imagine they'd want to do that, man.
You
boy.
might
You'll be
get a couple
surprised.
voodoo dolls of your ass this week. I don't know.
I think so.
Your dick's gonna snap right off your body, and you're gonna have
Just gonna
a
get-
bunch of moth girls to thank for that.
Bring on the moth girls.
The moth girls.
Can't get enough of the moth girls.
Oh my god! I'll leave the light on for him.
You got to do it. Thank you.
That's how I attract them.
The red light or just any light? I guess any light. Thanks for calling, Steve. Always good to hear from you. Again, if you guys want to call and leave a voicemail for next week, hit us up at 904-638-3231. I had a prompt I wanted to throw out for next week, actually. So we
You mean
are
different from the moth girls prompt?
the moth girls. Oh, if you are a moth girl and you want to tell Justin to go fuck himself, please do call in. That would be great to hear.
Ingrid Cold, give us a call.
Chopstick.
What was your-
Actually, does sound like a pretty solid goth girl name. If I'm just being honest.
Bob, what was your prompt?
My girl Ingrid Warm is going to call in. So next week, we're going to be talking about another You Picked a Flick. It is 13 Ghosts, the remake from 2001 with Matthew Lillard. This one was chosen by Lou. Shouts outs to Lou, a supporter of the show, longtime supporter of the show, all the way from Ireland, the lovely country of Ireland. And we got St. Patrick's Day rolling up right around the corner. So I kind of wanted to see if anybody had crazy St. Patrick's Day stories they wanted to call in with. I don't think we've done that one yet, and I know some of you out there have some St. Patty's Day stories. We want to hear them.
You got to.
Got to do it.
I mean, just getting sloppy drunk is about it for me. It's nothing too noteworthy on my end. So I'm excited to hear some
I
folks.
have dirt on your ass.
Well, that
Brush it
follows.
off.
I'm gonna go smear some mud on my ass.
I have mud on your ass.
Yes, you do, baby.
Did you shit in Randy's pants again, Bob?
Don't take a shit in my pants, dude.
Who
That's not
did
cool.
this?
Who did this to
Who's done
Randy? Was it Bob?
How dare you take a
Bob's
shit in my
always
pants while
shitting
I'm
in
wearing
Randy's.
them?
While he's wearing them too. It's crazy. I don't know how I do it. But
You're
I
a
do.
fucking
Sneaky
monster.
like that.
My ass is very flexible. You don't want to know what this thing can do.
Damn.
Yeah, call in. St. Patrick's Day stories, 904-638-3231. Checking out 13 Ghosts next week. I feel like I think we did this one way, way, way back in the day, like the first year doing the podcast. The audio is really bad, and this is one that we've been kind of wanting to revisit for a while, and Lou just happened to pick it. I'm looking forward to it. And if everything goes according to plan, we'll have 2 special guests next week. One of them is
Lord.
a human being that is a longtime friend of the show. It's been on the show before. The second
What?
The second guest is a bottle of Malort.
Our old friend Malort.
I see. Oof. Gonna make us those famous cocktails.
The old rusty gutter.
Well, it should be actually, yeah, it should be a fun episode
I think so.
if
yeah.
everything goes well.
Hopefully it doesn't.
Malort's involved. In what way do you imagine
Yeah.
anything
How
going
could it
well?
go well? Yeah.
I wonder if I could drink
There's a
next week,
cap
too.
on how
I'll
well
have to
it
see
can
what
go.
day we're recording and see if I got a little flexibility.
Ooh, we could
We'll
try
make
and play a drinking game on the show. I don't think we've ever done that
I
before.
might have some flexibility next week.
Yeah.
What is
see
that's?
if I can get.
We'll have to see what night it is. 'Cause
Little
some of us do have to work.
Yeah,
And
just
I do not.
just quit. Just quit in the name of the show. That's fine.
This is your job now.
a slave obeys.
It's time to dedicate your life fully to straight
To
chilling.
the Straight Chilling podcast.
Have I not already? Have I not bled enough?
Randy,
Haven't I given enough for you?
you got to get a fresh bottle of Red Stag for next week, okay?
Oh,
There, you could not pay me.
You got to turn it upside down, brother.
you know what?
Actually, you could. If you go on Patreon, I'm going to put on a new tier that's about $150. You give me $150.
That's a lot of Red Stag.
I'll drink Red Stag.
Randy's not a
that's
young
not all going to
man
Red Stag.
anymore.
I'm spending as little of that as possible on Red Stag.
Oh,
and
Randy.
then drinking it.
I thought
That's
I
the
knew.
trade.
Pocketing him.
Look, this is a money-making venture, baby. You want me to go full bore?
Can you dye Red Stag green? Probably. Let's figure
Oh,
it out.
God.
Let's do that.
I think so.
Just a green ass tongue hammered on Red Stag. Oh God.
Get that little green apple syrup in there and just,
You're gonna be shitting green.
God damn.
Who shat green
no,
in my
no change
pants?
there.
No change. God.
Actually, in fairness, though, purple and red dyes turn your shit green. So Red Stag might have a little red dye in it.
Yeah.
Might actually turn shit green. I'm not sure.
Might be shitting green. Drinking
Might-
red.
Wait, where's the
shitting
purple
green.
coming from?
Ooh, shillelagh. Gonna shit some green. Let's go.
What? Wait, what?
The dye. Like the dye. Yeah.
Okay.
Hell
Some
yeah.
sort of chemical reaction that turns your fecals green.
Gotcha.
It fucks with your shit.
Science,
Oh,
everyone.
gotcha.
I'm
Yeah.
here bringing it for you.
We're doing it.
Only shit related, though.
We're doing it. Check out 13 Ghosts. Get ready for next week's show. You know where we're at on the socials. We got links for all that shit posted on literally every episode. If you want to find us, you know where to do it. Also, join our Slack channel. Hit us up on one of the social media outlets. Say, hey, I want to join Slack, and I'll send you a link so you can do so. Don't forget about Joe Bob this Friday. And until next week, as always, all you mother truckers, please keep chilling.
You wanna kill a Nazi? A Nazi's crazy?